New York Times with a bombshell report. So this is breaking earlier today. It turns out that there could be secret tapes, more secret tapes of Donald Trump. This time, they may have been taken by Rod Rosenstein. Now, Rod Rosenstein, of course, is the Deputy Attorney General. Now, according to this report, which is already starting controversy and getting some strong condemnations from the White House, suggested that last year, Rosenstein was going to secretly record President Trump to expose the chaos consuming the administration. And he had also discussed with other cabinet members the idea of invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump from office for being mentally unfit. Now, according to the Times, Mr. Rosenstein made these suggestions in the spring of 2017 when Mr. Trump's firing of James Comey as FBI plunged the White House into turmoil. Over the ensuing days, the president divulged classified information to Russians in the Oval Office, and revelations emerged that Mr. Trump had asked Mr. Comey to pledge loyalty and end an investigation into a senior aide. Now, to show you the situation that Rosenstein was basically thrust into, he was, all this happened, that entire whirlwind of news that would have had a Democratic president been involved in the same thing would have immediately started impeachment proceedings. All that in the space of the first 2 weeks. Rosenstein gets in there, he's like, holy shit balls. What have I like landed into? What kind of whirlwind shitstorm, poop NATO have I ended up in? What the hell is going on? Now, he of course had begun overseeing the Russia investigation and played a key role in the president's dismissal of Mr. Comey by writing a memo critical of his handling of the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Now, look, that Trump asked him, hey, write this email. I don't care, like, just, go after Comey for being too hard on Hillary. Yeah, okay, sure, I can do that. Now, later on, he began to suspect, wait a minute, that memo that you used to basically blame firing Comey on, I think I made a mistake writing it. He grew concerned. First, he was caught off guard when Mr. Trump used that memo in the firing. And according to people who spoke with Mr. Rosenstein at the time, he started to get angry at Mr. Trump. And he grew concerned that his reputation had suffered harm and wondered whether Mr. Trump had motives beyond Mr. Comey's treatment of Mrs. Clinton for ousting him. You know that memo? Nobody believed that memo anyway. But Trump out there was like, oh no, see, I'm so mad at James Comey for the way he did Hillary dirty. By the way, crooked Hillary, lock her up, lock her up. No one believed that. That was the most bullshit excuse, right? He wanted us to then, after, of course, people at his rallies, crooked Hillary, lock her up, lock her up. And the crowds, they still chant that at Trump rallies, lock her up, lock her up. Wants us to believe, or at least at the time wanted us to believe, that he was trying to protect Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump thinks we're as stupid as he actually is. Jesus. Now, Mr. Rosenstein then made remarks about secretly recording Mr. Trump and about the 25th Amendment in meetings and conversations with other Justice Department and FBI officials. So it was after all of that went down, and he's like, shit, man, I think I was used. I think this guy's an idiot. Oh no, maybe we should think about getting rid of him. Now, several people described the episodes, insisting on anonymity to discuss internal deliberations. Now, the people that were briefed on the events themselves or in memos written by FBI officials include Andrew McCabe, then acting bureau director, that documented Mr. Rosenstein's actions and comments. Now, Rosenstein also told Mr. McCabe that he might be able to persuade Attorney General Jeff Sessions and John Kelly, then the Secretary of Homeland Security and now the White House Chief of Staff, to mount an effort to invoke the 25th Amendment Now, here's the thing. He publicly, of course, denies the report. Oh, no. That New York Times completely off base. Maybe even fake news. But according to others who described his comments, Mr. Rosenstein not only confirmed that he was serious about the idea, but also followed up by suggesting that other FBI officials who were interviewing to be the Bureau's director could also secretly record Mr. Trump. So there's a couple of things. Number one, this could be absolutely true. Or, and I just had this thought, it could be a setup. Right now, Donald Trump is feverishly looking for the person that wrote the New York Times op-ed, right? What if they're trying to pin this on Rosenstein and say, oh, it must have been Rosenstein that wrote it. And then whoever actually might have wrote it might get away because they would stop looking. Oh, that's a fascinating theory. We've got conspiracies inside of conspiracies. But anyway, now if you're to believe the New York Times story, then it is possible that Rosenstein may have tapes of the president. Speaking of tapes, Mr. Rosenstein apparently had raised the idea of wearing a recording device, or wire, as he put it, to secretly tape the president when he visited the White House during Trump's search for a new FBI director. One participant asked whether Mr. Rosenstein was serious, and he replied animatedly that he was. If not him, then maybe Mr. McCabe or other FBI officials interviewing with Mr. Trump for the job could perhaps wear a wire or otherwise record the president, Mr. Rosenstein offered. White House officials never checked his phone when he arrived for meetings there, Mr. Rosenstein added, implying that it would be easy to secretly record Mr. Trump. So hold on here. So first it's Omarosa. Then he was recorded by, and this was Michael Cohen, his former lawyer, also with having recordings of President Trump. And now it could be Rod Rosenstein that also may have recordings of Donald Trump. Who, at this point, who hasn't recorded President Dum Dum? Because that's what this is, right? You have everybody recording the dumbest president in history. This is unprecedented. This is amazing. Wow. Now, look, that doesn't mean that there are actually tapes. In fact, the New York Times writes, in the end, the idea went nowhere, the official said, but they called Mr. Rosenstein's comments an example of how erratically he was behaving while he was taking part in the interviews for a replacement for FBI director. Now, the episode is the first known instance of a named senior administration official weighing the 25th Amendment. And this, of course, ties in to that New York Times op-ed from the unnamed senior administration official who basically brought that up. We talked about the 25th Amendment. We decided we weren't going to do it. Okay, well, there you go. They decided they weren't going to do it. Now, I have a couple of theories on that, but this is another piece of proof that the op-ed is basically describing what's really going on in the White House. They know he's dumb. They know he's dangerous. Everything we've said about Donald Trump being mentally unfit for office, I think is true. He's a deeply unstable person. And everybody knows it. So then why don't they get rid of him? Why don't they use the 25th Amendment? Well, it's a couple of reasons. Either they think they've got a handle on him, and they know how to steer him towards things that they don't want him to do and towards things that they want him to do, or they know that the Trump base is so insane that they might tear the country apart if Trump is removed. Or maybe they have some sort of plan to get him to step down. I don't know. But I think this is more evidence that Donald Trump is mentally unfit for office, has to go, and everybody knows it. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.